Just to be clear, in the UK, Hamas are designated a terrorist organization. And I know some organizations took a little while to recognize that, but it does mean that under the Terrorism Act, if you support them in any way, there are various offences. So if you carry banners saying from the river to the sea, for example, which could be about genocidal intent and so on and so forth, that is inflammatory. And there are laws under the Terrorism Act which should be enforced. The police don't seem a bit reluctant to enforce some of those sometimes, don't they, Nigel?
Well, it would be very difficult, sorry to interrupt, because the river to the sea is actually the defining motto of the manifesto of the Likud party, which of course is the party of Benjamin Netanyahu. So the river to the sea is actually a Zionist motto, a watchword coined by them, and it was reappropriated by the Palestinians as a form of resistance. So if you were going to arrest anyone again who utters this motto, I wouldn't advocate arresting anyone who says anything, because that's a form of, well, what is it? It's a form of censorship at best. The first thing you'd have to do is arrest Zionists, because it's a fundamental principle of Zionism.
Yeah, and you make a very interesting point, I think, just on that, though, Simon. I think the words, and a lot of the times, people have been famously interviewed on the marches saying they're holding the banners from the river to the sea, which river, which sea, and they don't know. So it's good to put it into historical context, because a lot of it is misunderstanding. And I do believe, I live right in the heart of London, right? We have the biggest mosque here in Regent's Park. We have the American ambassador's home, where Trump and Biden and all the various people will stay. We'll see what happens in the next election. But basically what happens, it's been a community that has lived, Israeli ambassadors, very, very close to me. It's a community that has lived together in harmony for a long time. What's really sad at the moment is seeing these marches where people are living in fear. And the thing about being a terrorist organization, that's what they're saying, is that these words, from the river to the sea, they might have an innocent connotation. You put that into context and so on and so forth. But for others, it means about genocidal intent. And it's got to go down to intent, doesn't it, Nigel?
Yes, I mean, the whole point about from the river to the sea is, this is where I would agree with Simon. I don't think that is in it by itself anti-Semitic. It depends how you interpret from the river to the sea. When I was in the West Bank talking to Palestinian politicians, their interpretation on it was how you link up Gaza with the West Bank in the event of a two-state solution. So that was the river Jordan to the sea. What is happening in Britain is that from the river to the sea is not in itself an arrestable offence. It rather depends on the context. So if you're chanting it on a demonstration, the police won't arrest you. However, if you chant it outside a synagogue or a Jewish school, they would. Quite clearly, the intent there would be to intimidate. So that is the kind of test that is being applied by the police on these demonstrations.
Critically analyzing global affairs, the Muckrakers on today's News Talk, TNT.